The and Siag is actually just on to record, so we won't actually see him. But and your faces won't be on, by the way. He's just spotlighting me and the top-down camera, but your voices and your chats will be there, but not your faces. Well, cool. Okay, so let me just make sure that y'all have everything you need to get going. Um, Going over here to my little handy dandy little pictures here. Okay, so you need 5 mugs or glasses because we need one for each coffee. We're going to steep the coffee in there. So they need to hold at least 7.5 ounces, or that's 220 milliliters. And we're going to be using 200 milliliters or 7 ounces of water. So they just need a little bit more room, of course, for the coffee. Though our water's heating, if you have a fancy kettle, that's the temperature to set it to. Otherwise, it'll just go to a boil and we'll time it that way. And Linnea, we talked about using water a little cooler for you. And so Mandy and I are gonna bump our temperature back up in a few minutes, but you'll just heat it once and then you'll use it a little cooler.
Okay.
And did y'all get a chance to measure out your coffee? If not, it's just if you have a scale, it's 12 grams on a scale, or scooping 2 tablespoons into each mug for each coffee. Um, and then you also need 2 extra mugs, and that's for cleaning and rinsing. 2 soup spoons or teaspoons, something to write with. And you have this little tasting form, excellent. And you have your the back of the brochure has this flavor wheel. Woo! And
You
this
guys gave
envelope.
great instructions.
Oh,
That
thank
this was
awesome.
very good.
Oh, good. That's good to know. That's good to know. Um, and what was I gonna say? Oh, Mandy, how do you usually make your coffee for
I have an
yourself?
AeroPress.
Okay, cool. So you're used to like 2 minutes, about 2 to 4 minutes of just that's it. Yeah, those are awesome.
I actually forgot what the instructions were, so I've only been using it for like 45 seconds for the last like 7 years.
Oh, does it taste
It's
good to
been
you?
it's a yeah, I mean it's been fine. I don't it has
Yeah,
worked. So I was
awesome.
like, oh great, the instructions again. I clearly needed this.
Oh yeah, and we have also like a little AeroPress page on our website.
Yeah, that's
Um,
what I
oh,
checked out.
that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and that
I
is
clearly
intended.
missed the whole website prep thing.
Oh yeah. Um, it's no big deal because I always like buffer in time.
Right.
Can't expect everybody to. We all have busy lives. Um,
Totally.
so I buffer in time for setup during. So yeah, no worries at all, Linnea. Well, awesome. Have y'all ever done like a coffee tasting like this before? Like gone into a coffee roaster and done one? Have you done like a wine tasting?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
yeah.
did a coffee tasting in Seattle at like the Starbucks, but
Oh,
it
amazing.
wasn't like I didn't make the coffee or anything like that.
They had you sip out of different cups.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, well, first off, yeah, this way that we're going to do it is professional style. So this is how coffee roasters, coffee farmers, coffee importers, exporters will set up a bunch of coffees to taste at once, right? And the idea behind doing it this way is that it's a super easy way to make more than one coffee at the same time and taste it at the same temperature comparatively. Because the easiest way to figure out how a coffee tastes is to taste it next to another one. And so we've got these 5 coffees in front of us. They're from all over the world. There are different roast levels from light to dark. And it's going to really help us figure out what we like, what we're tasting. To have 4 other coffees to compare each coffee to. So in this professional style way, we actually start by smelling the coffee grounds. So I'll lead you through that when I get done talking about this. After that, that's kind of our introduction to the coffees. We're then going to start steeping the coffee. And for a medium grind, we'll steep for 4 minutes. But Linnea, like I was saying, you've got a finer grind, so I'll let you know how long to steep it when we start. Um, After the coffee has a chance to cool down, of course, we're going to taste the coffee, and you have this tasting form that I'll talk about in a sec. But we'll also, we're such a small group. Feel free. I love to kind of make it interactive and talk to each other about what we're tasting, what we're smelling. And then at the very end is when the mystery is revealed, the big reveal. And that's when you actually get to find out where these coffees are from and a little bit of information about the coffee farmers. And you'll open up this envelope that has postcards, coffee info postcards for each one. But we like to hide that info until the end, just so you can concentrate on, what you're tasting. Awesome. Any questions so far? Cool. Okay. So yes. So as I said, you have this tasting form here. And I'm just moving y'all up here so I don't have to stare at myself. Okay, great. So when you do anything like this, like whether it's the coffee tasting that you did, Linnea, or a wine tasting, just honestly having dinner with a friend and talking about what it tastes like, we're just going to be asking ourselves, what does this coffee remind me of? Right? And that stuff is kind of subjective. It can only be based on stuff that you've eaten and drunk and smelled over the course of your lives. We're in 3 different places, right? We're probably surrounded by different smells, especially me being in New York City. There's a lot of pretty interesting smells, especially in summertime. So, we're gonna come to each coffee with some different experiences and preferences. So we're gonna have different descriptions, right? And so it doesn't mean that someone's right or wrong if you're getting chocolate and I'm not, right? So the whole deal is just trust your gut. We're gonna use this tasting form to jot down kind of the first thing that comes into our heads. If nothing comes into our heads, which is pretty common when you first start trying to do this, that's why we have this flavor wheel, which is on the back of your brochure. And the flavor wheel is intended to be a tool to kind of jog your memory, right? And that outer ring is the most general stuff, right? Does this coffee smell or taste more fruity? Does it smell or taste more roasty? Those are kind of the 2 extremes. And as they get towards the center, it gets more specific. So again, feel free to choose any word off of here, or choose, whatever word kind of jumps into your head. Yeah, and I'm going to be defining most of these categories as we get going. I just wanted to kind of give that caveat from the start. Also, if you have any questions as we go along, whether it's about what we're doing or any kind of coffee question in general, feel free to shout it out. How's the music level for you? Too loud? Good? Okay, awesome. Great. So, as promised, we're going to start with the fragrance. So that first column on the tasting form, fragrance and aroma, those are the smells. And we separate the smell of the dry coffee grounds from the wet coffee because they can a lot of times smell different. So we'll start with the fragrance. For Mandy, go ahead and start your kettle up again if it came to a boil like more than 3 minutes ago, which it probably did. And then Linnea, you're gonna holding pattern for your one. Okay, cool. Take a sip of water here. Wait for Linnea. Wait for Mandy. Okay. So I have 2 kind of pro style tips to get a better sense of this coffee, right, as we sniff it. The first tip is that you want to take short sniffs, several in a row. So pretend you're like a dog or like a wild animal, some kind of animal you feel connected to today. Try to figure out what you're smelling. You're going to go sniff, 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 sniff with your nose deep in the cup or the bag, right? While you're doing that, you could open your mouth too, and it might help, especially if you're a little stuffy. The second thing you want to do while you're sniffing is to just shake up the coffee grounds. So the easiest way to do that so that you can shake up the coffee grounds while or under your nose is to just hit the cup against the palm of your other hand. So it would look like this. Just like that. Y'all are doing great. So let's do this. We'll go together and we're going to take 3 passes, right? A pass just meaning we're going to sniff each one. So the first 3 passes, the first pass, we're going to go more quickly. So we'll take a few sniffs of yellow, then we'll move right on to blue. This first pass, we're not going to worry about writing anything down yet. We're just going to kind of start to sniff all these coffees and build the basis of comparison. So moving right on to blue, then red, then green, and purple. And maybe some stuff is already jumping out at you, right? When we start our second pass, that's the one where we'll go more slowly, We'll take our time, and you can jot down what you're smelling on that first column under fragrance. And when you start back at yellow, yellow might already smell a little different to you because you now have smelled other coffees before it. Because they're kind of all over the map with roast levels, some of them are going to smell more on the fruity side. Some of them are going to smell more on the heavier kind of roasty side. You don't have to use specific food words. If all you got is like, right now, this one smells stronger, this one smells milder, that's great. Yeah, I have one. If your nose starts to feel a little overwhelmed, and you're not used to sniffing so much and thinking about it, we have a trick. You can smell your arm or your shirt and then go back to smelling the coffee. And it actually does make it pop more. It's basically smell something neutral that's not coffee, go back to smelling coffee. If you find that your arm or shirt are not neutral, you can smell like your tasting form or, the flavor wheel. Awesome. And then I talked about 3 times. I'll just lay it out now, but we're probably still in our second time. The third time, you just want to smell them backwards. So if you were going left to right, go right to left this time. For the third time, go out of order. This music got a little more intense.
We actually can't really hear the music. Do you want to turn it up just a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I think you know why? Because when I share my screen, it stops sharing the sound. So I'll go back over. How's that? Can you hear that? It's still low?
It's still low, but that's fine.
Try that. Cool. Awesome. That's okay? We'll wait for the beat to drop. Okay. Awesome.
I'm totally second guessing myself now as I go through.
Oh man, yeah. It's so easy, right? To be like, wait, am I smelling that? I would say just like write it down even if you're not sure, and then you can kind of parse it out later, because probably, even though we get some different stuff when we smell the aroma and when we taste it, right? It's going to be pretty easy to tell kind of, okay, yeah, this definitely, I think I was smelling that. I probably was, because I'm also smelling this. I'm also tasting that. So yeah, kind of throwing it all down there. And then, yeah, I will say again, like the third time when you go backwards, it's pretty neat how, depending on which one you smelled right before, it kind of brings out more things, especially when you go like from purple to green. I find that that's pretty, rather than going from red to green.
I think I'm learning that I don't have a very discerning nose.
Are you getting stuff that like some of them are milder, some of them are stronger? Okay.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm having trouble like being like, this is fruitier or this is nuttier.
That is more practice. Like, okay. Yeah, totally. Like if you're able to be like, okay, like, yeah, this one, like you can smell some differences, you're not quite sure what they are, right? Mm-hmm. That is, that's going to come with time. There's not like a great connection in our brains between like smell and taste and language. So we have to just build it, So if you haven't like, gone to a wine tasting a month all your life or whatever, like probably we're not used to kind of exercising that. So yeah. And also it can get easier if we also talk about it. Like I'll just throw it out there. Like, were any of these coffees, like, did they smell heavier to you? Like more like roasty or smoky?
Green and purple, I would probably put in those.
Absolutely.
But green for sure.
Yep. Yeah. Green and purple. Yeah. By the way, these are not necessarily in roast level order. They're almost in roast level order from light to dark, but they're not. There's two of them that should be swapped. Yeah. Yeah. This is when you start sniffing so much or start sneezing. That happens to me too. All right, cool. Our water, should be at a good temperature to start in on the aroma. Are y'all ready for that? For the kettle situation? So I'm gonna spotlight this top-down camera so that you can see it a little better. And what I'll do is I'll have you start, Linnea, just 2 minutes after us so that we can do the breaking the next step together. So I've got a timer. So yeah. So I guess, Mandy, whenever you're ready, let me know and we can start pouring together. Oop, I never spotlight this. There we go. Okay, cool. So all you need to know is that, are you using a scale, by the way?
I have one, yeah.
Okay, so if you throw your cup on the scale, tear it out, fill it to 200 grams. So each cup will get 200 grams. And Linnea, do you have a scale or using a measuring cup? Okay, so measuring cup, that would be 200 mils or 7 ounces. And actually, also, if you have enough water, I might, not forget it. Yeah, forget I even said anything. Okay, you ready, Mandy?
Oh, I started pouring.
Oh, okay, great. No, that's great. I will. Okay, so these need to steep at least 4 minutes, but they can go, and that's for a medium grind, they can go over 4 minutes, and that's okay. That's not going to really change how they taste that much, which is also what makes this a really great way to evaluate different coffees. So at Driftaway, we do this, a few times a week for quality control, just to make sure the coffees are still tasting good, the roasts are still good. Also, when we want to buy new coffees, we'll set them up and taste them like this. But interestingly, like any coffee roaster I've ever worked for will never just taste one coffee alone. We'll always at least taste another one next to it. So when you're done, you can see that I poured some hot water into just one of my 2 extra mugs, and that's just going to be rinse water for your spoon. And for this way of making coffee, there's no stirring involved. So we're just going to pour hot water on the coffee. The coffee grounds rise to the top and form a crust. Actually, probably Linnea, because it's a finer grind, you probably won't get much of a crust, which is okay. Then there's one less step to do. And just looking at timing, I would start pouring your water now, Linnea. Within the next 30 seconds. Give you a little time. Awesome. And so, this is the time when we can get our first sense of the aroma. Taking those short sniffs, several in a row. And you might have noticed, Mandy, that there's like a layer of coffee grounds on the top of your mugs here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And when we're ready to do the next step, which is about a minute, I'll just be showing you how we're going to disturb each one of those crust of grounds, so that basically what's holding up the coffee grounds above the water is like trapped gas that comes off the coffee grounds, like the bloom. If you heard of like the bloom, yeah, it's mostly carbon dioxide. So when we disturb each crust, that gas leaves, And then we get like a nice kind of intense aroma. And then because that gas isn't there anymore, the coffee grounds slowly settle to the bottom of the cup. By the time the coffee's cool enough to drink, then they're all at the bottom. Which also makes it kind of a neat way to make coffee if you don't happen to have a coffee maker or a filter, something like that.
I love that.
It's just that stirring is what gets in the way because it will stir up the coffee grounds. Then you're just chewing on coffee grounds when you're
I've
trying
done
to.
that before. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you've made coffee like this before, or you've
Not on purpose.
ah.
Early in my brewing career, filters were very challenging for me to remember, and I also camp a lot, and so you just,
Oh yeah.
Stuff kind of happens out in the wilderness.
Yes. Yeah. Some people call this way camping coffee too. And they might, if you grind it finer, it'll sink to the bottom more easily. So yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So we're ready now for me to show all of us how to break the crust. And as I said, this is going to be a good way to get another sense of the aroma. Do you have much of a crust on top of yours, Linnea?
Not too much.
On top. Okay, so while I'm demonstrating this for Mandy, then maybe do you want to just go ahead and start sniffing your cups to get?
Oh, I'll just wait. That's okay.
You'll what?
I can wait.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, but when we break the crust, we get an aroma.
Okay.
So you can start your aroma. You don't have to wait for me to do this. Yeah. Okay, so here's what you do. Your spoon goes barely under the surface of that crust till you see some liquid, just like that. And then you just push your spoon around in a circle, tracing the edge of the cup. So I'm going away from myself, then back together, or back around, just going around a few times in a circle. You don't need to go in the middle of the cup. You just trace the edge, and then that's it. You want to rinse your spoon. And you can, since you had your nose over the cup while you did that, you were sniffing, you can jot down any notes that you have and move on to the next one. And, the spoon just doesn't fully submerge ever. Is there a question?
No.
Okay. So the spoon goes about halfway in, halfway down, not much. Any of these smelling similar to how they did when they were dry grounds?
No.
No, they all smell different. That's cool. Smelling stronger, more mild.
One of them I thought was really strong. It smells more mild now, the yellow.
No. Ah, yeah, I agree. I agree on that. Yeah. Well, cool. Let me also ask, do you have, Linnea, like foam on top of your cups like I have here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we'll do this next step together. But are y'all, do you need another minute for the aroma?
Yeah, another minute.
Okay, you got it. Awesome. Any of them smelling like chocolatey to you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which color?
Yeah, which one? Or once?
Blue?
Blue, yeah. That's what I was
I
thinking.
put chocolate sweet. That's what I
Awesome.
put.
Awesome. Chocolate sweet, yeah. That's the one I was smelling when I thought to ask you. So yeah, I also think it smells like chocolate.
Oh, okay. I was like, it could be either way. It could be the green or the blue.
Yeah. And then there's also, I mean, maybe one of them smells more like milk chocolate, one of them smells more bitter, like dark chocolate or baker's chocolate.
Yes.
Like, they can definitely all smell like chocolate, for sure. The green one is interesting.
I thought it was kind of spicy.
I totally agree. Yeah.
It was the only one that really made me want to sneeze.
Like as if your brain thinks you're smelling black pepper.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely heavy in that urban spice like slice of the flavor wheel for me. And also like some smoky, some dark chocolate stuff. Yeah. How about the red? Anything? Oh, yeah, go on, Mandy.
Oh, for green, it also makes me feel of like the pastry kind of like there's some sort of molasses or some sort of like sweetness.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm going back to it now.
I think, yeah. I get it too.
Oh yeah. It reminds me, yeah, like maybe like a savory pastry, like a red bean cake or something. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I wouldn't have thought of that unless you said that. Did you say weird?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Red bean cake.
Hey, I feel like the red one is like not as heavy. More of a light one. Is that right? Or am I making it up?
I think no. I this one to me, yeah, the red one's kind of the mildest for me in terms of fragrance and aroma.
I put almond down for red. That's
Awesome.
what spoke to me.
Awesome. Yeah, there's definitely, there's like a nuttiness to it for sure. There's something a little brighter that I can't quite get the specifics of it, maybe. Yeah, maybe like an apricot or like an orange or something like that, sweet orange. But yeah, cool. Well, let me, I'm gonna show you the next step, which is just a cleaning step, and it's basically getting the foam off the top of these cups. So for this step, you need everything. You need your mug with water and your empty mug. You need 2 spoons. And I'll move this cup up a little bit so you can see a little better. And here's what you'll do. Basically, you want to put 1 spoon on top of the other one, just like that, and then put them sideways, up and down, and dip them both on the far side of the cup from yourself, just underneath that foam, right? And so once you're in this position, all you need to do is move the spoons towards yourself as they scrape along the edge of the cup and move the foam towards you. So they go away from each other and then back together and kind of scoop up. And then you should have that foam there, probably some coffee too. You can throw that in your empty mug. We'll call that the foam mug. You can rinse off in your rinse mug. And I would rinse off the foam even if you need to go back another time to get some more foam off. Like I might just do like a one-handed situation here. There'll always be a little foam, a little bit of foam that hangs out around the edge of the cup. But you can leave that there. That's not going to get in the way of tasting. Just want to get the majority of it off. Yeah.
This is like very relaxing. It's like I like it.
Like the ritual of it.
Like the cleaning off of the foam, there's something very zen about it.
Ah, yeah. Like raking sand.
Yeah.
Like cleaning foam. Yeah.
And / also playing with cups when you're a toddler and just pouring water from one to the other.
Like you're really creating like an intense thing too. I feel like in my mind as a toddler, I was like really creating something.
Yeah.
Just pouring water.
Architecting all the things.
Right. So this foam, the big reason why we remove it is that it tastes bitter to us. It's It's made up of tiny little bubbles of that carbon dioxide, that gas that came off the coffee grounds. And you know, if you've ever had like carbonated water compared to flat water, it's a little bitter. You know, it also, there's no filter, so there's like a lot of coffee grounds caught up in it, and it's like pretty gritty. Feel free to take, you know, if you want to, like in the name of science, take a sip, taste some of this foam that you're taking off. Let me know what you think. But yeah, so that's the main reason why we get rid of it. And when you're done removing that foam, your rinse water gets pretty dirty. So you can go ahead, when you're done, dump your rinse water out in your sink, and then you can refill it with fresh hot water. Yeah. And yeah, you don't need your foam mug anymore, and you only need one spoon from now on. All right, so we are ready to taste. You know, I'll just go over real quick the other categories on the tasting form, and then we'll go into it. So, you know, flavor is just how the coffee tastes, and we're actually going to be slurping the coffee. We'll be using a good, obnoxious, loud slurp. And the idea behind that is to spray the coffee to as many places in our mouth as possible to make contact with more taste buds. The body, acidity, and aftertaste on the form, you can see that they're all comparing to each other on a scale. So body is just how the coffee feels when it's in your mouth, and also right after you swallow it. So, you know, like, let's say a good way to figure it out is to swish it around. So if you're swishing it around and it feels more like skim milk or kind of tea-like or light, watery, then that's a light body. If it feels more like whole milk or creamy, that's or whole milk more is a heavy body, and then creamy is kind of usually in the middle. But you know, you can make that line anywhere you feel it, but probably you'll end up adjusting or moving that line as you go and like compare it to other coffees, right? Acidity is a fun category. So this is not the kind of acidity that hurts your stomach. This acidity is related to fruit, actually. It's the fruit-like quality of the coffee. So all that means for us is if you take a sip of one of these and it really makes your mouth water, if it reminds you of taking a sip of orange juice, right? It's juicy, it's tart, it's sour. That coffee has a very high acidity. If you take a sip of another coffee and it's more neutral, kind of like taking a sip of milk, it doesn't make your mouth water, that coffee has a very low acidity, and coffees can fall anywhere in between. And here's a pro tip. The darker that a coffee is roasted, the lower the acidity will be. So if you're tasting flavors you associate with dark roasts, right? Like, you know, smoky, brulee, toast, or even like dark chocolate, right? Most likely your mouth is not watering much. And then aftertaste is just what are you tasting after, which is like after you swallow the coffee. You can write down what you're still tasting and also kind of count in seconds how long you're tasting it to compare them with the other ones. Any questions about that? Oh, Mandy,
Okay.
did you have a question? Oh, okay.
Yes, body is the milk is low.
Body is skim milk to whole milk. So a light body is skim milk and a heavy body is whole milk.
Okay. And then acidity, the cheat was low is going to be no. What were you saying?
Low is like basically neutral. Like you take a sip of milk, your mouth does not water. And high is like you take a sip of one of these coffees and it's like taking a sip of orange juice. Yeah, so it's like milk to orange juice, I guess. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And you know, we taste you can fill this out as much or as little as you'd like. You can skip around, start with acidity, move back to, you know, flavor. And we start drinking the coffee a little lower temperature than probably we'd enjoy in a mug. And that's because the closer to our body temperature that we taste these coffees, the better we're going to be able to taste them. So yeah, so in case you have never slurped before or seen anybody slurp, oh, there you go, Linnea. Awesome. So we'll do it together. So yeah, you'll just put a little bit of coffee in your spoon if you want a demonstration, you know, and hold the spoon sideways to your mouth and then tip the spoon towards your mouth and suck in real quick. So it should sound like this. Yes, it's just a loud, obnoxious slurp.
Mhm.
Hold the coffee on your tongue for a few seconds to taste it better, or you could swish it around, right, if you want to think about body. And then you just want to rinse your spoon in between. And, we'll take a couple minutes to taste on our own, and then we can share it with each other. But I like to do this just how we did the fragrance, the dry grounds, which is to take like at least 3 passes. So the first pass I take, I'm going to take one quick slurp of each coffee, rinse my spoon in between, keep going. I'm not going to write anything down this first time. I just want to build that basis of comparison all the way down to purple. Once I get to purple, I'll start back again at yellow, and then I'll start really kind of looking at my tasting form and try to figure out what words are jumping into my head. Look at the flavor wheel. Think about how much is making your mouth water. And then the third time is just out of order. And that doesn't have to be backwards. It could be like, I want to see like which coffee has more acidity. So I'm going to taste back and forth between like purple and yellow. Which one's making my mouth water more? Which is making my mouth water less, etc. Cool. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to move this coffee closer to me. Turn this off. Okay.
This is really hard.
Tell me more.
Well, I don't know. I'm like, the acidity. I'm struggling with that, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do a little acidity experiment.
Okay.
So what I'll do if I'm trying to figure it out is basically let's start with yellow and take like a good slurp and think about like, is it making my mouth water?
Okay.
Is it juicy? Is it making you feel dry? Did it make your mouth water much? Try another sip.
Yeah.
Okay. And now go down the road. I don't know why I said road. And take a sip of purple. And same deal.
Oh yeah, it's way more acidic.
Which one?
The yellow.
Yellow's more acidic than purple. Yeah, exactly. And so that is what's cool about having more than one coffee is that we can figure it out that way. Because sometimes, you're not sure on its own, like what's going on with this. So absolutely. So if you've determined that purple's lower than yellow, then you can use purple and taste it with red and taste it with blue and see, is purple still lower than red? Is purple lower than blue? And then figure it out that way.
Okay.
Yeah. And acidity is really like pretty people have really strong opinions on acidity. Like they either like love it or like they're like, no, I want darker roast, I don't want to have any of that, so yeah, it's a good thing to kind of have in your pocket as like something that kind of what you like or what you don't. Yeah, like if you did the same thing with red and purple, you have where's red falling for you?
Let's see.
You can also answer, Mandy. I don't want to, exclude you. But if you're on something else, feel free to.
Fascinated.
Purple is more acidic than red.
Purple's making your mouth water more than red.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I feel
But
like
I question.
Yeah, I feel like this is a test. I'm like, I don't know.
This is the test. No, I will not be collecting your forms. Yeah. So, we call it perceived acidity too, because it's really just like, literally like does it seem brighter? Is it more related to fruit? Is it lighter? Is it making my mouth water? And some of it is more obvious than others. Like I was going back, yeah, like between a couple of them, it's a little harder to tell. But again, acidity isn't like the end all category. Are you getting any flavors? Did you get any flavors jump out at you for any of these?
I've been focusing on if my mouth is watering or not.
Oh, okay, cool. How have you, which ones made your mouth water?
I actually feel like the green and the purple were making my mouth water more, which sounds like is inaccurate.
Usually it's lighter roasts will have more of that fruit-like acidity. So yeah, but
I feel like the fruit is a helpful, like fruity versus smoky. Like that's a little bit more helpful than to me anyway.
then the mouth-watering thing.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I could see that. Me too. I just want to know too. I'm like, which one do I like the most? I don't know.
What do you usually like in an espresso?
I literally don't know. I like it's very new to me. That's why I wanted to do this. I just know
Yeah.
that I like coffee, and
You did say that you like Starbucks, right?
yeah.
Yeah. They tend to skew on the darker side of roasts.
Yeah. I don't know, like growing up, like my culture is Italian, and my grandparents would always make those like espressos on the stove,
Yeah.
but those aren't true espressos, aren't right?
I mean, just because it can't get up to the pressure that like an espresso machine
Yeah.
can. Yeah. So it can't get you like all that crema like a machine with a pump can.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not true espresso, but it's still a concentrate. Yeah.
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 The Italian version, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah. Espresso is very, like Italy is where it's at in terms of all kinds of espresso machines too, not just like the stovetop.
yeah.
There's a very famous commercial espresso machine in a lot of cafes called Linea. So you have a very nice connection to La Marzocco makes it Linea. Yeah. I think there's one N, but it's pronounced the same. But yeah. And it also might be that like with espresso, these lighter roasts and the more the higher acidity coffees, the acidity is accentuated with an espresso machine because it uses so much. The water's under pressure, so it really pushes out a lot more of that flavor.
Yeah, and I feel like it has so much body in the espresso machine.
Absolutely. And you know what that is? The body, partly because it's not a paper filter, but mostly it's the crema.
Okay.
And the
I
crema,
like that.
yeah, and you've got a lot of crema because it's under pressure and it's being like pushed out. Yeah, so yeah, totally. So you might find when you put the yellow in your espresso machine that it's way even more acidic or more bright than it was even tasting like this, because again it accentuates that fruit kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is true, but it's just because I'm really new to it. I like try to look for espresso at the grocery store and stuff, and mind you, I'm in Canada, so it's probably different. But there's only like a couple different types of espresso. There's like 2 or 3 like different Italian ones, which is what I grew up like using when we'd make tiramisu and stuff like that. But it's really, I don't know, and I was trying to research, but I don't know like if I can just use any beans and then espresso grind them, or like how that works.
You can.
And that's why I did so much research to try to find. I was like, okay, I want to do a coffee subscription box, and this is the one I landed on, was Driftaway Coffee, but I looked at like probably 10 other ones, and my friends have used some and they were like, oh, do this one, and I was like, meh. I'm like, I like this one because I really liked the idea of the coffee tasting, and then I know you can like watch a video of recording, but I was like, no, I got to be involved. I'm like, I really need to learn.
Awesome. Yeah, and so you can make any coffee into espresso. Um, the ones that are called espresso in the supermarket or even in a cafe, like in a coffee shop, are usually are darker roasted and might be a blend in order to tone down acidity, because it's a lot easier to make an espresso that's like easy to drink and like balanced when there's
Okay.
less acidity. So you can
Okay.
still make a really beautiful, like tasty shot of espresso with a light roast. It's a little harder. So that's why usually the traditional kind of flavor is like chocolatey, nutty, right? Like dark chocolate, smoky.
Okay. So like sometimes, like at Starbucks, for example, the only reason I know is because wherever I used to work, they had a Starbucks there. And so they'd be like, oh, 50% off all the bags of beans or whatever. And sometimes I would want to buy them, but I'm like, I don't know. Like as long as I grind them really fine, but then it doesn't really matter as long as like it's something that I like.
Exactly.
Technically, I do it. Okay.
Exactly.
That's good
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah.
And I feel like in the stores too, there's so many pods for like the Keurig and the Nespresso and stuff. So I feel like that's like what a majority of everything is. I don't know if you guys find that to be the same thing, but there's not a lot of like just whole bean or ground coffee. I feel like it's hard to find. And that's why I was really interested in a subscription, because I was like, I feel like I can't even go to the grocery store and like try what I want.
Yeah, and the other thing about the grocery store is that they don't have roast dates on their bags usually. It's like a best by date. So that coffee is also like much older than it would be if you got it from a small roaster, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So usually a best by date's like, you know, if you bought it today, it'd be like 2024, like, you know, February. Cuz yeah, they don't really go with roast dates.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's another thing where yeah, that's not ideal. But
So other than ordering from you guys, it would be good to like go to a local roasting shop or something in town. Okay.
exactly. Yeah. 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 Do y'all want to if you didn't did you I know you were talking about figuring out your favorites. Did you figure out or narrow down any of what you liked? Either of you? Okay, Mandy's nodding. What do you think?
I think my top is yellow.
Okay.
I think the second two closest are red and blue, and I think red is slightly ahead of blue.
Mm,
But yellow is by far my favorite.
awesome. If you had to throw out like one flavor for each, do you have anything that you're leaning towards? Like,
Well, I think yellow's very fruity.
Okay, see, I think yellow is my least favorite.
yellow's your least favorite because it's fruity and acidic.
Yeah, I would get like citrusy though too, like I don't know, like a lemon or lime kind of. Like it feels very like clean to
Yeah,
me.
I totally got that too. And like, I kept getting cherry, like when I smelled it and when I tasted it, like cherry.
Yeah, I smell that too.
I also wrote down fruit punch, which is, I think, just every fruit. Minute Maid fruit punch. Yeah, but definitely like citrus for sure. It really makes my mouth water. And how about the red one you talked about? You dug that?
I had almond down for aroma.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Now
I
that I'm thinking
definitely.
it again, like yellow is so far and above everything else. Maybe blue.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so I think my favorite is purple.
Awesome. What do you like about
And
it?
I also like green and blue,
Cool.
which is just so random. It just shows how different people are.
Yeah. Well, I will say that Mandy's leaning more on the lighter roast side of things, and you're leaning more on the darker roast, but blue is kind of like in the middle of those.
Okay.
So if you swapped like red and blue, then they would be in roast level order.
Okay.
Yeah. 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 Awesome. Are you ready to open those envelopes and find out where the coffees are from?
I guess.
Awesome.
I've been
Actually,
waiting all week for this.
what's that?
Been waiting all week for this.
Awesome. And I have a
I've
slot.
been checking the mail every day to see when it was coming.
Oh, that's so exciting. So if you open the envelope from the back, you know, the first postcard facing you, it should be it should be that yellow coffee. Um, and I looked at when your coffee's shipped, so you both should have the yellow being a coffee from Rwanda. Is that what it says?
Okay.
Excellent. Cool, cool, cool. Coffee from this area of the world is naturally more fruity. There's a couple of reasons for that, and even a third reason for this coffee in particular, but it's grown at like some of the highest altitudes that coffee grows, and that accentuates acidity. There's also kind of just traditions of processing the coffee, which means processing is just, you know, there's two coffee beans that grow inside one piece of fruit. 95% of the time there's two. And so that's why one side is flat, because it presses up against another one inside that piece of fruit. And so processing is just how they get the coffee dried and get the seeds out from the fruit. This coffee was processed the natural way, which means that the fruit, after being kind of sorted like they're doing there, separating out the underripes and the overripes, only fully ripe fruit, and then they just dry it. They dry the coffee beans inside the fruit for like 4 to 6 weeks until they're all shriveled up and hard, and then they crack open the fruit and they get the seeds out. This way is the most traditional way of processing, but it is not the most popular anymore, because it takes a little longer, but you don't need as much water. And what it does is the flavor of the coffee gets super, super fruity because it takes on so much sugar from the fruit and it is in contact with the fruit a lot longer. Had y'all heard of natural processing, by the way, before I talked about it a little bit? Okay. But yeah, you know, and tasting notes, if you didn't get floral or berries or caramel, there's nothing wrong with you. You know, we taste coffee all the time, right? Over and over. And so it's, you know, that practice thing. We're more associating it with stuff we've eaten and smelled, but also there was a lot of stuff that we wrote down that didn't make it right to the top three. So, you know, the biggest thing is, like, if you see any fruit listed, then you know that coffee is going to have acidity, and you know that it's going to be a light roast. So that's kind of the biggest thing. And I will say that next Saturday, Jackie is joining us at this tasting, and she'll be hanging out afterwards. So if you wanted to meet her and hear more about this farm, the Kanini Village Cooperative, which is a super neat cooperative that she founded, and it's super cool kind of origin story. Yeah, you could just jump on at noon and hear her talk. But cool. Any questions about this coffee before I move on? Okay, cool. Moving on.
Man, do you have to order more of it before March 22nd?
I saw that. It's
I know.
Yeah, because we change our coffees every 4 weeks. Yeah. Yeah, March 22nd, is that right?
That's what my card says.
Yeah, mine too.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. March 22nd. Yeah. All right. So this coffee is well, yeah, I'll say that at the end. This coffee is from Peru, the blue coffee. And this is a medium roast, and it's from the women members of a larger cooperative. So 90 women members out of about 300 farmers in this cooperative in Peru. And we got more chocolatey and nutty stuff on this one, maybe some savory spices. It's a medium roast, so that is going to tone down any kind of acidity. Remember, the darker you roast, you get lower acidity. But also choosing coffee from, you can also tone down acidity by just choosing coffee from areas of the world that grow coffee at lower elevations, because remember, higher altitudes usually higher acidity, and lower altitudes is more kind of tamer acidity. So that would be, yeah, Brazil, India, Vietnam, Papua New Guinea, Nicaragua. Yeah. All right. And then the next one over, this one that kind of was the mildest, is actually from Brazil. This is a super weird coffee because it doesn't taste like a Brazilian coffee. It doesn't taste like most Brazilian coffees that we've had. And the reason for that is absolutely how they process the coffee. So like, if you think about what are the things that make a coffee taste the way it does, number one is going to be the process, even over where it was grown, because you can process a coffee naturally anywhere in the world and it will taste fruity. um, Roast level obviously has something to do with it, because if you roast this coffee dark, you would be covering up a lot of that acidity and fruit flavor. This is roasted just a little darker than the yellow coffee in order to bring out more of that nuttiness. Yeah, awesome. And you can see on the back of your postcard, we have stories for each, a little bit of info. And then if you go to the website, there's even more info. So yeah, if you're moving on, we got Sumatra as the green coffee. And this is a really neat cooperative that's only women members, and it's women run and managed in Aceh, Sumatra, Indonesia. Coco Wagayo is the name of the cooperative. And yeah, you said spicy, Linnea, I think, we got like, yeah, herbal, spicy, dark chocolate, tea. This used to be the darkest we roasted until some of our subscribers asked if we could go darker, and we said sure. So then now we have the purple one. But when you get to this level, there might be stuff that reminds you of fruit, but it's not going to be like yellow or even red, right? It's not going to be like fruit kind of like in your face. It'll be more neutral. And last but not least is you can see this theme for the month. 4 out of the 5 coffees are from women producers, or mostly women producers. And this Ana Mustafa, this coffee is grown in Colombia. Crucero is kind of her brand name for this coffee. And she also is going to be joining us next Saturday as well, to chat with us about, growing coffee in Colombia. She's from like a long kind of line of coffee growers in Colombia, like her family, going back generations grew coffee, and she's doing kind of a lot of new neat stuff with it. But yep, also kind of smoky dark chocolate. I did think that this coffee tastes kind of earthy. I don't know if that came out for you with the finer grind, Linnea, but yeah,
Yeah.
kind of earthy. Yeah. So sorry, I'm a little over time, but the next step for you for a subscription is just to you can either, that link is also in your brochure. Next step, you can use the QR code if you want, but basically, skip and tell us your preferences, and then you can choose more than one. Like if you decided to choose, let's say, like purple and green, then however many months you have in your subscription, we'll just alternate month to month. We'll send you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I subscribed, but I'm gonna go back because I didn't know what I liked, so I just picked random stuff, right?
Ah, cool. Okay, awesome.
So
If
I'll go back in and yeah.
Okay, yeah, and you can change it. Awesome. Yeah, cuz this is the second week of the coffee month. So you've got time too. Yeah. So, yeah. Awesome. Um I hope y'all are feeling sufficiently caffeinated. We were sipping a lot, especially Linnea, you had that fine grind, so so you're
I know
gonna.
I'm still gonna make myself an espresso, I think, out of the purple one.
Ooh, awesome. Um, and whether it's espresso or airpress or whatever, if y'all ever have any kind of coffee questions, that's what I'm here for. Kind of like it's online, but picture just like going into your coffee shop and asking your barista questions about stuff. So you can always email me. I'm like james@driftaway.co, or you can just any way that you can contact us, it'll get to me. So, if you ever have any questions or anything you want to know about coffee, yeah. Do you have any other questions right now before we jump off?
Do you do live tastings in Brooklyn?
We Not right now, but we want to. Yeah, we were actually going to start, and then like it's hard because we can't fit that many people, like in order to be like kind of a little more COVID safe. So we're not doing them right now, but we want to do them soon. Yeah.
My
Would you?
sister, who told me about it, lives in Brooklyn.
Oh,
And loves y'all, and she like gives subscriptions to as gifts to a lot of people. But I fly up there pretty often, so it'd be fun to get both of us
oh,
one day.
you and your sister can absolutely come by and we'll make you coffee and show you the roaster and stuff. Yeah. Linnea, you too, if you're ever in Brooklyn. But
Okay,
yeah,
never
yeah.
been.
Yeah, people come and visit us and pop by. We don't have like a cafe space, but we're always open during the week.
Okay,
So
cool.
you should definitely, yeah, if you're feeling froggy about it, you should hit us up if you're in town.
I
Yeah.
love it. Thanks.
Yeah. We love to meet y'all too, because we don't get to, because it's just this and then seeing your email. So awesome. Well,
Yeah, this is
cool.
great.
Oh,
I'm so glad I chose this subscription over anything else I was looking at.
oh, that's so great to hear.
I really tried to find something Canadian too, but I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, yeah. I know of like one called 49th Parallel, but that's from years ago. I don't know if they're still around.
I didn't come across them when I was
Okay.
looking.
Yeah, I'm talking like maybe 15 years ago. So
Okay, yeah.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, cool. I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. Hope you're ready to like party now that you're all caffeinated.
Believe it or not, it's only 10 o'clock here for me. So it's
Oh,
like you're
yeah, that's right. And it's 11 o'clock maybe for Mandy. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then you're good. All right, yeah.
I'm like, I still have the whole day ahead of me.
Awesome. You can burn it off that caffeine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And yeah, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. But otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Jason.
Thanks, James.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.